Um, thank you all for coming. I want to introduce you to Kate Goupee. She's the head track and field and cross country, right?
Yes, everything.
Everything. She's the head. She's the head coach of our sports at Husson, and I'll let her talk more about that and her experiences. And she graciously has offered her time and talents to discuss athlete preparation for athletics for college, so that help with that transition from high school into college. I have that right?
Yep.
Yes. Which I'm super excited about. Actually, a little meta commentary. One of the biggest things I know I struggle with as a high school coach, and especially a newer high school coach. Now that our program has grown and we're sending more athletes to college, I've struggled with knowing how to support them to that next level and how to get them to that next level. So I'm really excited. I'm personally crazy excited about this because I want to send more of our kids to college competing in track and field. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kate. If you, with the numbers that we have, it's worked great. If you want to ask a question, you can just unmute and ask. That way it gets picked up in the recording and Kate can answer the question. Kate, also feel free to kind of set your own question and answer rules. If you have question and answer periods, just do that then. If you are open to questions whenever, then you do what you want to do. In my experience, both have worked great. So I'm turning it over to you, Kate.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. So you guys can ask questions whenever you want. I'm pretty good about dropping something and picking something up as on the fly, and then circling back around. So I do have a presentation that I can just give you that myself and Frank Pizzino, who was on earlier last week, I think, just kind of confirm that these are the things that would be helpful in helping an athlete make that transition from the high school to the college. So I'm going to bring up, I haven't had to do this before. Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to send the slideshow. I'm going to share my screen. We'll go here. Here. We'll go to, okay. So can you guys see that? Yes? Okay. So what are college coaches looking for? And this really can be applicable for those of you that coach other sports. So my athletic director went over this too to make sure you really can use it for anyone or for any sport. So when we have athletes that are going to look at universities or colleges, we want them to go online and research. Make sure that they have an idea of what the school offers, what's available to them, and if it matches what they're looking for. If they're looking for a small division level, Division III school, but they want 10,000 students, well, they need to kind of figure out via research that, you know, Husson might have 3,000, but MIT might have 10,000. That's a very large Division III school. The academics is really the priority. If you are going to be talking to a college coach, they'll probably one of the first questions out of their mouth is, you know, what's your intended major? Because they want to make sure that you are looking at a major that the school offers, and that it's a strong program for you to be a part of, because that means you'll stay there. Encourage your athletes to look at institutions with majors or many options if they're undeclared. Undeclared are always scary, I think, for a college coach, because you don't know, they can get on the campus and then they may decide, hey, I want to do marine biology. Well, we don't have marine biology. So now they're transferring. So if they can kind of narrow down 5 majors they really like and try to have those majors be at the institution they landed at, so that they can go from undeclared to a major pretty seamlessly without having to do the upheaval of transferring schools and maybe leaving a sport and a team, that's best case scenario. They need to be realistic about their chances of competing. And that's Division I, that's Division II, and that's Division III. Division III is not an extension of high school, and not everyone is going to be competing there. So they need to be realistic about what their skill set is, what their commitment to the sport is, what their ability is with organizing themselves now that they'll be on their own with sports and academics, and then where it's going to be the best fit based off of that. Again, that's part of researching the program, the athletes, talking to athletes, coaches, things like that. Writing down questions that you have. Absolutely love it when an athlete has questions. It means they've researched. Really love it when the athlete has questions. We like to talk to athletes. It's a little bit more difficult when the guardians ask questions only. So having the student athlete really speak up, this is going to be their home for the next 4 years. So we like to see an initiative from the student athlete. I was asked last week or a couple weeks ago about NCAA Eligibility Center. Division I, Division II, great stop. Division III, I'm relatively new access to it, but our administrators have to give us access. There's academics on there that we really shouldn't be going into that area too much. You can fill it out. I think you can do a profile, but a lot of us probably are not on it. It's really Division I, Division II. If they're recruiting someone to go on there and look at the academics to then confirm they can continue recruiting. Any questions on that?
I have one. When we're looking at the realistic chances of competing, I know I have a talented high school distance runner, but definitely talented at the high school level, and she's looking at colleges across like the country, and that's her hardest. Like all of these pieces, like the academics, like she's great academically. All of these, she's great academically. All of these things are set for her, but that's the question. So what do you think would be like, what are some of the best strategies? Like some of the things that she does is she like will go to results from a meet and she'll look at like where she falls. Now what she tends to do is look at the top of the list, because that's where she's used to being as a talented high school athlete. She's used to being at the top of the list. My question is, is that where she should be looking to see if it's competitive, or is it viable to be looking down the results sheet as well? And kind of where do you think that line should be to determine like how realistic it could be?
I think for any athlete, looking over the results is actually a big step. A lot of students skip that, and they will email you, hey, I run this, where would I be? And to me, you didn't do any research. You have no idea what my team does. I'm going to answer their question, but the lack of their research shows lack of initiative. So the fact that you're even looking is great. Reach out to the coach, though, and just ask, hey, this is what I run. I think this fall I had an athlete that we were recruiting, and they were surprised and said, these are the times I run. Well, I was like, well, yeah, I know. That's why I'm recruiting you. And she was like, well, do you think I can run? And I was like, actually, you're probably out of my ballpark. Always worth a shot. But really, you probably could be running here. And I actually gave her a list of, here are some high-end Division III schools you can be looking at. And quite honestly, you could probably look at Division I and some Division II schools. And she was so thankful that she wasn't going to come here, but at least you helped. The coach may just give you some help. They may just tell you, or be honest and say, hey, you run a 6-minute mile. You're probably not going to be competing on our top crew, but you can still come on and try. Or, no, I'm sorry, you're not going to cut it. The coaches tend to be pretty honest. So reaching out to a coach, I think, would be best case scenario.
Okay, so doing that starting point, looking at the results, if it then feels realistic or somewhat realistic, because it seems like she could be, or any athlete could be in the pack, quote unquote, or be on the sheet even, then contact the coach of the college you're interested in to go as a next step. Okay, that's really helpful.
Yep. Questions about contacting. So if that athlete's going to reach out, which coach do they contact? And we get mixed results with this, where an athlete will contact one of the event coaches or just me. So really encourage you to contact the head coach, who's really probably organizing it all, or the coach in recruiting. Again, that's going online and looking at the information. There may be someone designated as the recruiting person, someone that's the director of track and field, which is now a big, a more common position. And then someone's the head coach. And you can email the head coach and the event coach at the same time, because most likely they're talking to each other. But making sure you reach out and make that contact. When do you contact ASAP Division III? I mean, there's no limit on written contact. I'm not clear on the rules in Division I and Division II, obviously, since I'm not there. I think most coaches would prefer an email or a text. Email really allows us to kind of file things away, print things out, have things more coordinated in boxes. For Division III, you can make an official visit January 1st of your junior year. That means you can come on to campus officially, do an overnight, observe a practice, can't participate, meet the team, things like that. And then how to book a visit. Ask the coach for one. We tell a lot of our recruits, if you haven't been offered an overnight or a day visit, ask. You know, don't be shy about it. Say, hey, I'm going to live here for the next 4 years. I want a night on campus. I want to be in the dorms. I want to see how the team interacts. I want to be in the dining hall. I want to be on campus when there are students there. I want to see what practice is like. I want to see what the coaches are like. Ask for a visit, especially if it's not already offered to you. Any questions there? Method of communication, email or text. Professionalism. This may be the first interaction you have with a coach who is recruiting all kinds of people while they're talking to you. So how you can introduce yourself and come across as professional really makes you stand out. Down below in red, you can see some of the examples that I've had. So do you give scholarships? That was the entire email. It's not really how to approach somebody. Or a text there. Hey, coach, it's Mike. Well, you know, you might be one of 4 Mikes I'm recruiting that season. So which one are you? Really communicate. Hi, coach. My name is. How are you? I'm from this state. This is my graduation year. This is a major I'm looking at. Here are my stats. I mean, it's easy for me to look up. But I like it when an athlete provides me with stats and then I look them up and they're the same. I really like that. Turbo jabs in practice, that doesn't really do anything for me. So we want legitimate stats, legitimate information, personal contact, how we can get a hold of them, and wrapping it up. This should be you make sure your spelling is correct. Make sure you're sending it to the right coach and you're spelling the coach's name correctly. Make sure you're sending it to the right university. These wouldn't be examples if I didn't have them as examples. Are there any questions there? Multi-sports. Thankfully, a lot of high schoolers are doing multi-sports, and a lot of college coaches actually, it's good when someone's done multiple sports. Their body muscle groups, everything's been trained over different areas, and less likely to have that burnout physically and mentally. But if you want to play multiple sports, you need to say that up front. Not every institution is going to be comfortable with allowing you to do it, depending on Division I, II, or III. And not all coaching staff are going to be interested in it. So you need to reach out to all the coaches involved. We get a lot of athletes that we'll recruit, and then say March or April, they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to play soccer in the fall. Are you? Well, have you contacted the soccer coach? No. Then you're probably not playing. You need to contact, you need to reach out. Different sports recruit differently. Soccer, for instance, our men's soccer team, I think, had one male senior last year. They're going to recruit a lot differently than I'm going to recruit where I lost 10 seniors. Also, their one senior may play a position you don't play. So you really want to communicate with coaches. What are they looking for? Are they recruiting your position? If they're recruiting your position and you want to do their sport in the fall, can you do another sport in the spring? Also, it's a rude awakening for a lot of high school athletes to find out if you are a fall sport athlete, they actually have a non-traditional season in the spring. So if you are field hockey, soccer, football, volleyball, you actually have 3 weeks of practices in the spring season and potentially a scrimmage. That would impact playing a spring sport potentially, unless the coaches agree. The coaches may not agree, or they may. And the same the other way. Baseball, softball, they actually have fall ball, and they will have 3 weeks worth of practices in the fall and the scrimmage. That would impact playing a fall sport. Your fall and your winter sports will also cross over. So the 3-sport concept might be doable, but you really got to do a lot of communication and prepare yourself for that communication. Questions on that one?
Yeah, Carolyn. Sorry, I'm back on the previous slide. I didn't get in on time. You have probably an online recruiting form?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that that's less personal than sending an email, or is it like equal?
I like it when they do both.
Okay.
You know, I get an indicator, an email that says so-and-so filled out your online recruiting form. And usually we will respond to that within 24 hours. It's great when an athlete follows it up with a personal communication that says, hey, I went on, I filled in your online recruiting form, and tells me a little bit about themselves. Because you're right in that most online recruiting forms are very impersonal. We're just looking at like the big ticket items, the name, the major, things like that. So when they can provide with more, that just again puts you front and center of the coach.
Okay, thank you. I had another question. I haven't been at the college level for a while. You were talking about the NCAA, recruiting house there. Is Division III in there, or you can access information that's in there?
Well, the way I understand it is that it's been fairly new for us having access to it, but your administrator has to give you access. I currently do not have access to it. And I think part of the reason why the administrator has to give access is probably that, again, it's not supposed to be a recruiting tool. It's supposed to be used by Division I and Division II, the way I understand it, which someone could probably argue with me, as if they're recruiting an athlete, they can go in and kind of see, is the athlete going to clear? Are they going to be eligible to compete? And is it worth to continue moving forward with your recruitment of that athlete? Division III, we're really not doing it that way. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay.
So you can go on there and you can do a profile. And if that Division III coach administrator has given them access, they can go in and see that. Getting into being able to see, I think you get into a gray area for us because of grades and stuff are in there. And then what's the intent of what you're going to do with those grades? And then are you stepping the line with admissions office, things like that?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Let's see. So official visits, like I said earlier, on junior year, January 1st, you can make unofficial visits to Division III. This part, I can only speak to Division III. I do not know the rules in Division I and II. The manuals are really big, and I only know Division III. But what you want on that official visit, you want to meet the coaching staff. You want time with the team. This is going to be your new family. These are going to be the people that you are going to be at practice with, in class with, in the dorms with, at meals with, meets, travel. You take 25 kids to California. These are the kids that you're going to be with. So you want to meet that team. Seeing the town or the city, especially if you're from afar, observing practice. What are the interactions with athletes? Is it kind of ruckus and cheerful? Are people supporting each other? Is it just kind of, people are just going through the motions? How are the coaches interacting with the athletes? Can you tell what the coaching style is for your event coach? Everyone wants to know what kind of food is at the dining hall, gives the opportunity to see that. We provide meetings with our admissions, our financial aid. So you can kind of see what is going to be the bottom line for money. Are you going to be able to get into the program that you want to get into? And then contact with instructors from the major. So we will offer a visit with someone from the major or observe a class. But this is, again, you come with questions ready to go for those. And we try to involve our guardians in those meetings also, so they're part of this process. But again, if it's not offered to you, ask for a visit. You're going to be here for 4 years. You really want to do everything you can to make sure that you have done your due diligence in order to, sorry, someone just walked in my office. In order to make sure that you're going to go to the right place as far as is going to work best for you. Any questions about that? Expectations. This is a big one for us. I think probably for any college team. It is difficult anywhere an athlete's going to go for, if we bring in 20 freshmen from 20 different teams over 4 or 5 states, their backgrounds are so diverse in what they're used to for practice, academics, meets, competitions, things like that, that to then come on and here are the new rules, it would be really good for the athlete to kind of ask these things. What is going to be expected of me? And we do have a lot of our recruits will say, how many hours a week? So expectations, I think this is probably standard for any Division III program, Division II program, Division I program. So GPA requirements, you got to maintain your GPA. That's what you're here for. Weekly grade checks. Our team knows every Monday I go through every single athlete. And if they're not where they should be, they get a nagging email from me. They're not where they should be, they're in the office talking to me. Study hours, maintaining your NCAA credits. You can't fall below a certain credit load. If you do, you cannot compete. So the academic pieces, that all has to be taken care of in order for you to attend practice, go to meet, compete. Expectations for college programs, the weight room. We have a lot of freshmen that will come in and they have not been in an organized weight room. You're gonna have a strength and conditioning coach wherever you go. You're gonna have a plan that is not for you to look pretty in the summertime. It is for you to be able to compete in your event area. And that's what you're expected to do. You're not expected to go and lift by yourself in the general student population at the workout center for the whole campus. You're in the varsity weight room with your teammates. Practice 5 to 6 days a week at a scheduled time that you're attending. Athletic trainers, that's a really tough one for athletes to get used to. Full-time athletic trainers that are there to take care of you and that are there to make choices about your attendance at practice and competitions. It's not, I think I'm gonna take a day off. My knee's just not feeling it. Yeah, no. You're gonna talk to the athletic trainer, who's gonna talk to the strength conditioning coach, who's gonna talk to the head coach. They will make the decision on what you're gonna be doing moving forward. And that's a big transition for high school athletes because they're just not used to a full, a lot of them, if they don't have those full-time trainers, just not used to it. And, our athletes, I think athletes on any of these programs, community and program outreach, you're helping with recruiting, you're doing recruit calls, you're hosting athletes, you're eating meals with recruits and introducing yourself, you're volunteering time in schools, or our team likes to volunteer at Ronald McDonald House. You're doing other activities as part of reaching out to the community that your school is in. Regardless of wherever you go. Volunteer work is pretty common. We did volunteer work down in South Carolina. We did volunteer work out in Los Angeles. It's pretty common for programs to be doing. So there's a lot of expectations put on, especially Division III athletes, Division II, Division I. Your day's gonna be full. And then the last slide, say yes or say no. Just let us know. In April, let us know. Yes, I'm coming. And, we're going to be super excited. We're going to ask, continue to check in with you and ask you how you're doing. Can you send us an action shot and your stats and your academic awards so we can have you part of a press release? We're going to be getting gear orders. You're going to be able to, get all of your, if you have UMaine gear or Colby gear or Husson gear, whatever it is. In April, say no. Let us know. It's okay. I get rejected all the time, and yet I'm still a very positive, happy person. It's okay. You're not going to hurt a coach's feelings, and actually you save us a little bit, because what happens is when we get the radio silence, we kind of know, but we feel compelled to continue to reach out, and then either you're silent or you say, yeah, I'm doing great, and then 2 weeks later, how you doing? Yeah, doing good, and you're still not committing, but I'm still spending time checking in on you. If you can just tell me no, I'll wish you well. And some kids, you see them that first meet of the year running in another jersey. That's totally fine. It's okay. You found your home. We'd rather you be happy than anything. Just let us know. That is it.
Awesome. I feel like I have a question, but I can't.
Oh, Carolyn has a question.
Okay.
Okay, so what I run into in Lewiston, I have several great athletes that aren't U.S. citizens, and they run into trouble with they can't fill out the FAFSA, things like that. Have you run into that at your school?
Not within my program. What we do if we have students that would be considered within that international category, we have them contact our international department of sorts, we call it that, and they help them walk through it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or walk through what they can do.
So that actually leads me to kind of my question. So how much of a role, especially an advocacy role, can the college coach play in kind of in this transition process? Say the match is going to be good, but like there may be some obstacles, or there may be unforeseen obstacles. How much of a role can the coach play in helping that student get to where they need to be, especially if that's within your institution?
So I can't speak to Division 1 or Division 2 on that one. Division 3, I can speak to me only. I think because, how do I put this nicely? I am very much, there's not a lot of gray area with me. If the NCAA says you can't do it, don't do it. And don't test the NCAA. My goal always is never to risk anything that could impact my current athletes that I have on this campus or my athletics department. So I stay out of admissions. I stay out of financial aid. I don't touch those things. Another coach may feel very differently. Even though it's very clear language about the NCAA and what we're allowed to do down here and what we should not be doing up top of campus. Now, if an athlete says to me, hey, do you know of any scholarships? I can say, hey, look, you can contact financial aid. I can put the email in the, here's the email to financial aid. I would also talk to your town. I would go to your guidance counselor. Here's a link to scholarships from the state of Maine. Like, I can kind of do that stuff, but I am not going to waltz up to financial aid and say, hey, look, I've got this really good kid. We only need about $2,000 more.
Yeah, right.
No way.
Right. No. But I mean, if I less that, that's actually an interesting. That was an interesting thing I can tell my athletes as well. But what you did say, and this is another thing I can tell my athletes, what you can do is give advice on who to contact. Because a lot, that kid I was telling you about earlier, that's also the boat that she's in. She just like, who do I talk to? And
Yeah, we can do stuff like that where, you know, hey, I want to apply to Husson, what should I do? And I can say, you know, here's the link. We do the, what is it called? The Common App. Here you go. You can apply on the Common App. If you want to speak to a admissions counselor, here you go. You know, if they're, I can give them specific people to discuss something with. This is the admissions counselor that focuses in this area. You know, what do I do about housing? Well, you know, here's the person you can talk to for housing. You definitely are the liaison for your campus to help people navigate it. You just can't give them an unfair advantage over other students.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. That's a cool thing. Cause that's, I guess the thing that I would see would be really beneficial. What you can do is as the liaison, because I know, like, again, I'm referencing my kid, but I know there's other kids. Calling the admissions office and asking questions as the first step might seem like an overstep or something, but talking to a coach that they're hoping they're going to have a relationship with and are establishing a relationship with, that they're hoping to be, you know, part of that team, is something they're familiar with. They're used to talking to their coach.
Yeah, you'll have like a student, let's say, on, you know, what classes should I take this year? And it's like, well, you need to take whatever your high school is telling you to take to graduate. Like, here's the link that shows you what they expect from the PT program.
Right.
So you can kind of show them where to get the information. And I think too, it really, it made me think of something to add for you guys is, I think college coaches, I know I certainly do, really appreciate it and like it when a high school coach sends us an email backing up a kid and saying, hey, so-and-so has applied to your institution. Here's a little bit about the student athlete. They are fantastic. Or, you know, without giving out personal information the athlete wouldn't feel comfortable sharing, but making sure that we clearly understand what's on our table and whether or not they're going to be a good fit. And a lot of high school coaches will do that, and it's fantastic when they do.
Okay, awesome.
Anything else?
Yeah, it's Carolyn again.
Yep.
So when you're competing somewhere with the team and there's high school kids watching you, is it okay for them to introduce themselves, or is there a better way you want to handle that?
So again, NCAA rules, and I'm someone that follows them. So what it says in NCAA in our rule book is that we are not supposed to be, and again, the rules, I think the opinion of most track and field coaches and cross country coaches, the rules aren't written for track and field in 8-hour meet. Because it says you cannot contact them until like after the competition has ended and they've been released by their coach. 8 hours later. So kind of the rule I had is I'll tell an athlete I may be at a meet for recruiting, but that I probably will not talk to them in person just to adhere to that rule, just in case. Not every coach adheres to that rule, obviously. Or what you can do, I think you can do, is if they're done competing in their event. So say got the high jump out of the way and they did the 4x1 and they're done and their coach releases them, then you can go off to the side and you could have a conversation with them because they're done competing for the day.
Are there restrictions, like when your team's competing and a high school athlete is watching your team?
You know, I can't think of any other than self-imposed where you would only do it if you have a break where you wouldn't be taking attention away from your athlete. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the head coach, so my athletes are always competing, in my opinion. If it's an event area coach, they might be maybe the 200 just completed and they're running a 5K run, so they may have some time on their hands to go talk to an athlete. That would kind of be in the moment, specific to the time. Does that make sense?
Yep, thanks.
Yep.
As a coach, a high school coach, can I foster that conversation or give permission to have that conversation? Say, like, I saw that you were there. Like, this year, I know I would have done it, and I hope I wouldn't have broken any rules. But if, like, you were at a meet and Aaliyah was at a meet, I would have been like, hey, knowing that Aaliyah really wanted to go to Husson, or that was one of her top choices, I would have introduced you.
If she was done competing.
Okay.
Yep, that would be fair. And again, coaches have different interpretations. I know that there are coaches that walk around on the infield with recruitment letters. Everyone does it differently.
Right.
I just am very much aware of not doing anything to jeopardize my current kids.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a rule follower, I gotta admit.
Safer that way.
It is for the people that matter the most to me, yeah. Yep.
Here's Carolyn again.
Yep.
And so you have a track and field athlete. Now, is most of your data is like track their senior year almost not even considered? I mean, it's really through indoor season, or are you still collecting data through the spring?
For a senior?
For a senior athlete, yeah.
Well, Division III money's not involved. So they usually by that point they've proven themselves and they're good to go for us. Division I, Division II coach might have a different opinion.
Right. But you're in a tough situation for next year.
Yeah. I think for us, again, like I said earlier, I'm a pretty positive person, and I've looked at it as the glass is half full. And you know what? We didn't get those marks from senior year, but if we look at what they got their junior year, we just believe that there was another year of development that we're going to get, and they're just going to be better.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the rising seniors, that they don't have those junior marks.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that we're recruiting right now for next year are very concerned about that. And we've talked to them about, you wouldn't have already been on our radar if you already hadn't proven yourself. And this is going to kind of be, well, if you didn't like the marks, then you're going to have indoor, you're going to have cross country, and it's not going to be counted against you because everyone's in the same boat. It is what it is. We're not going to let it impede us when it comes to, holding out on something because we're missing a couple marks.
Right. That's a good question too. So if I didn't even think of that. So what should an athlete, or what would be helpful for an athlete to send to you as far as marks are concerned? Like, should they send their knowing that, again, I'm thinking about my current athlete right now. Like, her sophomore marks are good, but her junior year marks would have been.
And that's what we're going to assume. We're going to assume that the junior marks would have been higher, or further, or longer, or whatever. Everyone's going to be on a level playing field in that one. We're just going to assume that there would have been growth and development, that it got missed out on.
Oh, sorry. Should they submit their sophomore year marks for spring track?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been, I know it's been devastating for a lot of athletes, and worrisome, but I think any college coach is.
Right. It's not like you're
what are we gonna do?
Pandemic, right?
You're gonna say no because you're missing. Well, it's not their fault. Like I said, I just glass half full. You know what? I bet it would have been a great year. Everyone would have been setting PRs. Let's look at it that way, and we'll just hope for that to continue your senior year, and hope for the best.
And would you advise, I don't even know why I'm asking this question, but it just makes so much sense. But you would advise also to, we did have an indoor season this year, throw in throw in everything. I would probably say.
Yeah, and I think, we like this. I mean, we can see a lot of marks anyway on the computer. But yeah, I mean, give us your indoor marks, give us your cross country marks. The one time we don't like marks, we're not a huge fan of marks. I think a lot of college coaches are relay splits, when the kid's like, well, I run, a 52 open, but I ran a 49 anchor for the 4x4. And you're like, yeah, the turbo jav marks, that's great. You want legitimate marks, please. So yeah, use your indoor ones. And you take it as an opportunity to just say, we didn't get to do outdoor, but I trained really hard and I came back in cross country, or I came back indoor track, and this is what I did. It's no different to me than some athletes that only do, they don't do outdoor, or they don't do indoor, or they don't do cross country. They have blips on their resume too, that you just assume if you plugged in that season and they weren't playing baseball. Like we have he's going to be a senior. He had been at Edward Little. He was a baseball player, and he never did outdoor in high school. And now he's one of the top sprinters around. Well, just he had 4 seasons that he didn't have any marks for. It didn't hold it against him. We just got really excited when we put him on the outdoor track finally.
Question from Carolyn.
Yep.
How do you like videos or,
If I can see the athlete, yeah. When they actually ID who they are and it's clear who they are, especially in the technique events, we can't really give feedback, which athletes will ask us to sometimes. We can't do that. That crosses the line. But it gives us an indication of where there's room for improvement.
Do a lot of kids submit videos?
Several a year. Not usually Maine kids.
Okay.
Is that something we should be doing? Is that a selling point, or are you like I see your marks? Like,
yeah, I think we rely on the marks more. It's just more information, and more information never hurts.
Right.
One of those things. No.
Right. Okay.
Do you have any more recommendations for us as coaches?
Keep doing what you're doing. No, I just keep supporting them in their sport. The kids that we get here at our school that are coming from, Maine, Mass, New Hampshire, you guys are sending us the best kids. They're awful good. They're so nice. They're hard workers. The typical track and field cross country kids that we all know, that we all work with, that we know that are just fantastic people in their communities and at their schools. Keep supporting them in that sport. Keep encouraging them. I think keep giving them confidence too. We get a lot that they're not very confident or they're scared, and we're like, no, you got this. So, and if they can, encouraging them to do college on, any college program, any college anywhere, athletically or academically. Academically, encourage them 2-year, 4-year, whatever. And then if you can encourage them to do athletics, I think for a lot of athletes, the athletics is what gets them through college. And it helps them from day one to have a family on a campus away from home. And we've talked about it in our athletics department as a whole, that there are kids that they wouldn't finish if they hadn't started with athletics and then taken into a group of people that were like-minded with them. So if they can compete in college, fully encourage them to do it and to believe that they're capable of doing it if it's reasonable. And there is another piece too would be, we get a lot, especially with some majors, we get a lot of students that are very concerned about balancing sports and academics. And we have to sit down and talk to them and say, okay, you might have class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You may not have class Tuesday and Thursday at all. So what are you going to do? Just explaining them that in high school, you're going from 7:30 in the morning to 5, 6 o'clock at night between school, band practice, running practice, homework, and then finally going to bed at 9 o'clock at night. College is a lot different. Not only do they organize their time, but they're gonna have to really work on time management, and that they may have a lot more free time on their hands. So you can probably balance academics and athletics, but it's solely going to be up to them to balance it. But they're not going to be as busy as they were in high school right off the bat. Some of those majors will gear up, and yes, they will be flatline, busy. But right off the bat, they probably can at least try it. Anything else?
No, I think that's great. I'm going to wrap this up by ending the recording. Coach, I really appreciate your talk today. I know I gained exactly what I was hoping I was going to gain. So that's awesome. And I texted my athlete. I was like, "You got to watch this. It's going to be on YouTube. You're going to watch it." That was an awesome presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy in this, and yeah, thanks again, and thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.